We're here at Nashville BNA, and we're one of the first media outlets to get a peek inside at the new Concourse D that just opened. It's part of a BNA Vision expansion project. This is it that you're looking at right here. It's over 115,000 new square feet. It's LEED certified. It awarded over $55 million in contracts to small, minority, and women-owned businesses. This that you're looking at here is going to be the new hotel that they're going to begin construction on soon, and then the name will be announced later this year. We got a personal tour by CEO Doug Kreulen, who walked us through, and we're about to take you through right now. So can you tell us about this entrance to Concourse D?
Okay, what you're looking at is the new entrance to Concourse D. It's the first portion of 115,000 square feet that we've added, and it's primarily built to hold 6 737s, and it's all been rented by Southwest Airlines right now.
Wow. And Southwest has 6 gates in this new concourse?
And yeah, they have all 6 gates. So there's only 6 gates, and they own them all. So they're renting all those from us.
Wow, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Other airlines bid on it, or what went into that decision process?
Well, what normally happens with that is we were growing from, let's say, over the last 8 years, we've been adding 1 million passengers a year. So we went from 10 to 12 to 13 to 15, 18 million. And so the FAA makes us have a master plan to try to keep up with that growth. So as we see ourselves growing, one of my jobs as the CEO is to go out and meet with each of the airlines and say, hey, we're growing. How do we handle your growth? What do you want to do in Nashville? And so it's a good relationship with Southwest, and they're like, we need a new concourse. We want to add more flights to Nashville. Sorry, can't play that. But they want to add more flights to Nashville, so we talk to them about the design and what they might want. But for the most part, we design it. We try to make this reflect Tennessee, so we have a designer that comes in there and says, well, we want to have, arching roofs. We want to use wood from like the Smoky and Cumberland forest to try to show warmer tones than what we had in the past. So it takes a while. It takes a while. About a year to design and then 2 years to build it.
Well, and they say, I know they're headquartered in Dallas. They say
Yes.
that Dallas is kind of a sister city to Nashville. So,
oh yeah, yeah. Dallas and Austin is another big peer city for us.
Mm-hmm. Is there any construction that was delayed due to the pandemic when you guys were getting ready to open this?
Sure, not really. We had a 25-month schedule, and we built it in 25 months. And what was interesting about it, a couple times you had to shut down because a construction worker would test positive, and they'd have to clean the area, and then after they were cleared by doctors, they could come back. But we had about 2,100 construction workers out here on any given day, and they put in over 1 million hours of work to build this.
What's this that's going to go here?
Okay. So what you're seeing now is on the right side over here is where the gates and the airplanes will be. And then later this month, this will be the new security area for this side, because when we split the airport in half, you'll have to come to the south side for concourses C and D, or go to the north side for the other 2 concourses, A and B.
Wow.
So it's coming soon within the next, if you come back in about 4 to 6 weeks, that'll be full of security equipment, and you'll get your ticketing behind those gates, and then you'll just come right into here, or you'll go back down and turn left to go to C.
TSA lanes, is this where they will go, or back behind?
We're moving all the lanes out of the middle, and 10 of them will come over here. We have 8 new ones on the north, and then when all this is done in about 2.5 years, we'll move them all back to the middle, and we'll end up with 24 total security lanes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a lot of planning went into this, to the construction and how you're going to implement it.
Yeah. So we're halfway through the BNA Vision. So it's taken us 3 years to get to this point, and we have about 3 years to go. And so we're at the midpoint right now.
And what were the other construction projects that were a part of BNA Vision before this one?
Okay. Everything so far in BNA Vision has been about positioning ourselves for the next phase of construction. So to get started, we knew we needed some area, and so we built the first garage, which you probably parked in. We call it Garage 2 now. Okay, that allowed us to take down the garage that was in the middle and start building the concourses. And then, so we built one garage, two garage, a new office building, and then this concourse and both new ticketing wings to get to the halfway point.
15,000 square feet in this new addition. I imagine a lot of planning, processing went into how you were going to implement the different phases. How many phases in the building of this concourse?
Well, we have 3 large construction projects. We call them projects 1, 2, and 3. Nothing big about that. But overall, we're going to add 500,000 square feet. So the airport is about 1 million square feet big right now. And when we finish, we'll be about 1.5 million square feet.
Does that count outside and runways as well?
No, that's just the buildings that you got to air condition and light and all that. So this is 115,000 square feet running down here. And then each of those ticketing wings that we talked about right behind those charts right there, that'll be another 100,000 square feet. There's 100,000 on the north. And then when we move the building out, it'll add another 200,000 square feet. So that's how we get to about 1.5 million square feet.
That's so massive.
Yeah, it's pretty big. A big electric bill.
I heard, and I'm assuming you'll take us through here, but I heard that this also had a mother's room.
Yes. Yep.
As well as a place for service animals.
You bet.
To relieve themselves.
Yeah, we'll walk right down here in just a second and see the service animal relief area, and then just past the midpoint is where the mother's nursing room is at. As we go down, you were talking about how big this is. In terms of energy efficient, all the lighting in here is LED lighting that we can control based on how much light's coming in from outside. And every one of these windows is what they call electrochromatic. So they dim to keep the sunlight from coming in. So they're like those glasses that you can auto dim, or you walk into a room after you've been outside and they'll clear. So if it's cloudy outside, they're clear. If it's really bright as the sun sets, they'll darken like a set of sunglasses. And that helps us control the energy use that we have for the building. And then in the vents that we have where the air conditioning all comes out, this airport, all the concourses are cooled by lake water that we pump over from our quarry.
So that type of glass and that type of lighting, did that add a huge expense to the project?
It adds a little bit, but it ends up paying back in the savings that you're going to make up on utilities. So on using the lake water, which is 51 degrees temperature down at 50 feet below the surface, that's saving us over $800,000 a year in electricity bills.
$800,000 a year.
A year, and that's before we added this new concourse.
Wow.
So we've saved a bunch in utilities by trying to figure out how to use, water, that's in a lake sitting there to help cool the airport.
Hensel and Phelps and Fentress before, or was this a new relationship?
A new relationship, especially with Hensel Phelps. They're a huge company, and they normally bid on really big construction projects, and they won two of the three projects out here, and so they've been wonderful to work with in terms of keeping us on time and on track. So before we go in, let's go look at the service animal area.
Okay. Perfect.
All right. You're gonna think this is crazy, but it's really pretty cool.
I've never had a camera on in the restroom before.
Yeah, so this is the luckiest dogs in the world, that they have their own little carpet to do their business, a fire hydrant, and they have their own water fountain. Wow. So if the owner wants the dog to have something to drink, Then they just push the water fountain, and the dog can drink out of its own water fountain.
Now, what types of various animals have you seen come through BNA service animals?
All sizes, from very small dogs to very big dogs. And it's a requirement for us by federal regulations to support service animals. So we had 4 before, but they were all outside. Mm-hmm. So we're building 2 brand new ones that are outside. This is our first indoor one. And then when we finish the garage we're currently working on around January, it'll have a dog park out there. So wow. if you come to the airport to go fly out and your pet's with you, then your dog can relax at the dog park, and then if they still need to use the restroom, they can go to one of the service animal relief areas. And this is washed on a regular basis. It's got drains underneath the carpet, so it flushes itself and cleans every day.
So this area right here is just for dog service animals?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's only, most of the service animals are dogs.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this is, we have at the airport about $1.5 million worth of art. Wow. And so we change out our displays as we go throughout the different concourses, normally on a 6-month basis. And the reason why art is important is because it tends to relax the passengers. And so it's also a way that they know where they're at. Oh, I'm by the Tennessee picture, or I'm by this, and so they feel more comfortable and they don't get lost when they're going through the airport. But
are all of these artists local, or?
Most of these artists are all Tennessee and local here. We have some other pieces that are by others, but let's show you the new big one here.
Okay. Concourse D is not only LEED certified, but features a ton of local artwork like this installation you're about to see on the ceiling.
So this piece here, we actually have an airport board, and as part of the airport board, we have an arts board at the airport. And so this piece was selected by our art at the airport's board. It's built, as you see on the sign over there, by Shane Albritton and Norman Lee. And it's 90 feet long. I think it's 15 feet wide. Costs $600,000. And what it does, what's it look like to you?
Well, it looks like a twisted hammock to me, to be
right.
honest. That's not an insult.
No,
It's
no.
just
But what it does is shows you it has a couple of meanings. So one, it's signifies Tennessee and the Cumberland River. And so there's 14 of these bridges that cross the Cumberland River in and around Nashville. Also, the bridges are the same that you would see on like a guitar. And then the strings, like you would see for a guitar, signify movement. And at night, when you're walking under this, there's motion detectors that those lights will move with you.
Wow.
So when you go through it, you get the sense of it's the city because of the bridges. It changes the angles like the Cumberland River. You get movement with music as it's playing. So it's really beautiful to see outside in at nighttime, and then you'll be able to see it twinkle as the motion detectors pick you walking up underneath it.
It's almost like your own little amusement park ride, because everything.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to.
No.
That'll get me in trouble. All right. This art piece was, you would feel comfortable that you're in the middle of the airport. Oh, you're in the new Concourse D. And so this concourse has a lot more taller ceilings, has a lot more light, and these windows on both sides are both electrochromatic. So they dim in the morning on this side, and they dim in the afternoon on this side. That's why it looks a little, you feel like it's not super bright in here right now. It's because these windows are working.
Public mood lighting.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. That'll work. And so what this is called the central node. So if you're here, you're halfway through. You can see we've already gone by D1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. On this end, it's 4, 5, and 6. and so you won't get lost. You'll know where you're at. And eventually we're going to have contracts where this is going to be a restaurant, and this is going to be a restaurant. So you'll walk between two different restaurants as you tour.
Any hints as to what those might
Not
be?
yet.
Yeah.
We got to sign leases. As soon as we sign leases, we'll be good to go. So let's go look at the nursing area. One thing's new to tell you. So as you're coming down, you can say, oh, I'm going to Milwaukee, or I'm going to Baltimore or Oakland. So it tells you what destination city you're at. So if you don't remember your number, you can at least look and see what the sign says as you go. So then demo the old one, and then once we got the cars moved into here, we started building the next garage. So it's build it, tear it down, build it, tear it down kind of thing right now. But on these seats that you were talking about, that's one of the big critiques that we had from customers in the past was when I walk down the center walkways, pulling my luggage on the carpet is harder than pulling it on a terrazzo floor. So that's why we switched it to terrazzo. And then we get written up occasionally on customer service. There's not enough plug-ins, so you can see plug, plug, plug.
That was not me, by the way.
No, that's good. But, so you can plug either into the socket or USB ports, whichever the customer wants to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a huge asset for me, because I travel with a lot of gadgets, and I'm always looking for a place to plug in, and you don't want to be rude and take up somebody else's plug-in, you know?
Now this this wall is a mural that we had painted and developed for the airport. The board picked it out as well with help from Southwest Airlines. I think it's 70-some feet long, but it's designed to signify Nashville from going from the old vinyl records to neon, and then the speed of movement is what it's trying to. And this is what you have in the packages that Kim will give you the background. And he's doing a pretty neat piece that shows a lot of pictures that we have that, again, just so people will understand where they're at. If they tell us what picture they're by, we'll know where they're at if we have to come help them out.
And so these artists are local as well?
Yes. I like it. I always wish I could play the harmonica. That's always pretty cool. Wish I could play the piano as well, and then walking down, Broadway at nighttime or out fishing, it's pretty neat to see what people are doing. A lot of memories. All right.
For mothers?
Yeah, so mothers that are nursing a child can come in here with their stroller and park the strollers right here. Changing table, a chance to, wash their hands, clean up if necessary, and then a nice comfortable chair to nurse the child. And then when they're done, they can, again, wash their hands, pick up, and go on back out there. But we had not had one as nice as this in the past. We did have some ladies that are on our staff, and a couple years ago they had their first child, and that's when we said, man, we got to figure this out. And so we built one. There's one on B Concourse, but it's not as big and as nice as this. So this is one of our goals, to try to take better care of the mothers that are traveling through Nashville.
This is so nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Who are friends of mine, and they're like, there's just no place private to go.
Yeah.
We don't have anywhere to.
So now we have one on B and one on D, so one on each side of the airport that they could use if they needed to use that. So it really helps them out. All right. So what kind of other cool questions? It's pretty neat, isn't it?
First of all, this is beautiful.
Yeah, pretty cool.
I could hang out here a lot.
Yeah.
So a couple other questions I had. So the cost of Concourse D and the entire BNA project as projected, are you guys able to get into that?
Yes. Oh, yeah. So we, the overall BNA Vision cost $1.389 billion. And we fund this. We're an airport authority, so we're required to generate our own revenue and pay our own expenses. So in order to borrow the money like that, we have to go to the lending agencies, if you will, in New York, explain to all the rating agencies how much money we need, how much we think we're going to make, and basically just like you would for a home loan. So we did that, and in December of this past year, right before the pandemic, we went and borrowed $920 million. Previous to that, it was a couple years earlier for that first garage we looked at. That was $200 million to build that garage plus a few other things. So we've borrowed the money. That's allowing us to keep going, and that's what's really helped us through the pandemic to be able to keep all these employees employed constructing the new airport.
Can you just touch on the different ways, for some of our viewers who may not know, the different ways that the airport does generate that revenue?
Okay, so it's pretty much the easiest way to remember is three ways. So the airlines pay us to land, park the jet, and rent the space that they need to take care of their passengers there. So that's one source of revenue. The other source of revenue is our concessions, whether they're selling food and beverages or T-shirts, retail type items. That's another third of our revenue. And the third revenue is parking. So park at the airport, shop at the airport, and fly helps pay all our bills.
So I understand that you awarded over $55 million. I believe you said 70?
70 businesses.
70 businesses,
yes.
And $55 million to small minority and women-owned businesses. Did that come about organically, or did you set out to diversify the contracts that you made in the beginning?
Great question. The answer is yes to your second one. So we have a business diversity development office, and we comply with federal regulations and our own procurement policies. Our job is to promote, so we bring the whole community together when we're building the airport. So we encourage small minority and women-owned businesses to bid on our projects. We actually certify them for free. And then they are able to, by their different trade skills, go out and bid for the different projects that work on there. And then when we put out these large solicitations like this one to build Concourse D and the ticketing wings, we give the companies like Hensel Phelps a target. And so then they're like an extra arm of us because they have to meet their goals. And most of their times, the companies exceed the goals. So I'd have to look up specifically on this one, but most likely in this project area, they might have had to have a $40 million goal, but they found enough small minority or woman-owned businesses to do $55 million worth of work. Overall, when we finished the BNA Vision, we were thinking we would spend about $200 million total on small minority and woman-owned businesses. We're going to be north of $250 million by 2023.
$250 million to small minority
and women-owned businesses. So they will have produced more than 20% of whatever we're building and developing right here. And it's neat because you get to see the buy-in. They're part of it. This is their airport. They get to fly in and out of here, and they can always tell mom and dad, I helped build that.
Of employees or any hiring programs that are geared toward racial, sexual orientation, and gender diversity as far as a company?
Okay. Yeah, did Joe Woolley put you up to that question?
He did not.
Joe Woolley is a good friend of mine. We were in Leadership Nashville together, so he has been a big help to us. At least as a mentor to me, to discuss diversity and inclusion areas. So we're a member of the LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce, Black Chamber of Commerce, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and we set goals to try to mirror the metropolitan service area for demographics. Mm-hmm. And so we have our Board of Commissioners has a diversity committee, diversity and workforce committee that looks at that breakdown on an annual basis. And right now, all of our human resources policies and our procedure manuals are all out for legal review to be updated based on new laws and new guidance. So Joe's been pushing me to keep doing the right thing, and I think it's a great thing that we will reflect our community as a whole as we go forward. So it's a very positive development for us.
Wonderful.
Okay, it's personal, to so many people. Served with many members of the community, and I'm just happy that I have the opportunity now to reflect that in our guidance that we have at the airport authority.
I know you can't speak for, the airlines in particular, but one of the things that we have noticed is a fluctuation in ticket prices that really nobody can pinpoint what is happening right now,
Right.
In the pandemic as far as prices. When is the best time to buy? Nobody knows anymore.
Yeah.
So, do you have any advice on that from BNA? I know you can't speak specifically about the airlines.
Sure. Now, my advice would be I always shop early, but I don't want to get there late, and I want to book my ticket and sit where I want to sit on the airplane. So, I would book early. I feel very confident. We still have members that are traveling with flying. The biggest thing the airlines are doing, it's based on demand. So right now there's not a lot of demand. So each of the individual airlines is trying to price themselves to be more attractive to the consumer. So that's why you keep seeing great deals here and great deals over there to try to encourage people to get back to flying. Yeah.
So, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we know that passenger census has been down at various airports across the country. How has that affected BNA? I know in a lot of ways, but if you can just touch on
the biggest impact on us is obviously money and passengers. If the passengers aren't coming here, they're not buying a ticket, they're not shopping, and they're not parking. So we saw our numbers go from, on average, going through the airport was about 50,000 passengers a day leaving and coming in. And in April, we got down to as low as 500. And so now we're back to about 40% of that level. So we have about 16,000 people going through the airport every day. And we need to figure out how to get more people. And as soon as we get past this pandemic with vaccines or whatever, people will come back and hopefully start flying. So what we had to do was we cut about $58 million in budget. So 42 in operations around here and about 16 million in capital and about 58 million. And so although that, we're able to keep everything up and we're still growing and all this, what it does is not only helps my bottom line because I don't have to worry about paying for it, but it also helps the airline's bottom line because I'm not charging them as much or trying to raise their fees when there are not a lot of people traveling. So it works towards both. So that's the kind of partnership we have. I know why they're cutting prices and they know why I'm cutting budget to try to keep everything balanced right now.
Do you have have you guys released any specific guidelines for airlines as far as once they leave the tarmac, they're up in the air, safety precautions for them, or is it up to each individual airline?
Yeah, it's really, we're like two business partners. If I'm the airport and you're the airline, my guidance is from the time that you come in the airport, this is how I want you to take care of yourself, wash your hands, practice social distancing, wear a mask if you can't. And then once you go through that gate there at D1, you're an airline customer. And so they're going to say, wear the mask. You got to keep your mask on the flight. And then you get off at wherever you're going and the opposite happens. So we are working very closely together. We make sure that I'm supporting them and they're supporting me. And we're just trying to do the right thing. This is the cleanest airport you've ever seen since the pandemic. It was clean before. We would always get like a 94 rating on cleanliness, but we have really upped our game to put extra preventive measures in here to combat the virus.
Can you walk us through some of those measures and maybe talk a little bit about what passengers are having to do now, what airlines are having to do while they're here at the airport.
Biggest thing we've been doing is really reemphasizing all the CDC guidelines. So we tell people, I'm on social media all the time, our Kim and the rest of our team is, but if you're sick, don't fly. You know, make sure that you practice good hygiene. You know, if you practice good social distancing, don't touch your eyes, nose, and mouth if you haven't washed your hands, and then wear a mask. And if you do that, if you start off with that premise, if you're healthy and I'm healthy and we're doing everything that, we're not going to give anything to each other. And that's the teamwork that goes on. So we emphasize that, but we have hand sanitizers everywhere. We have all the electrostatic foggers, so we look like Ghostbusters, where we can clean this whole airport with backpack blowers with the right chemicals that kill the COVID virus. We do all the restrooms and all the touch points every 2 hours, so that you're touching something that's been cleaned within that last 2 hours to try to keep this up. All of our air conditioning systems, all of our escalators that you could ride up and down, we're putting in those UV lights, so as the handrails go underneath the ground and come back up, they're hit with the UV light to kill the virus. And as before the air blows out through the HVAC systems, it runs across HV lights that also kills the bacteria and the virus as well. So we're investing a lot of time and money to try to do the right thing.
I'm hearing from a lot of businesses that, look, I'm spending so much money just on protective equipment, just on sanitizer, just on gloves. Has that been a significant budget increase for you all?
We always focused on having a very clean airport because nobody wants to come to an airport. But I would bet our cleaning bill so far has gone up about $2 million. And then
That's per $2 million per total
the year, total so far for the year. And so we did receive some federal relief funds that we can use to make some of these modifications that we need to do that'll make us better. But right now it's about $2 million. And the other thing we do, I didn't mention earlier, but we had 800,000 free masks. And so I still have over 700,000 masks that if you didn't come to the airport with a mask today, we'd give you a free mask so that you could have a mask to get on the airplane and go fly. So if we're trying to look at every possibility to make you comfortable when you're flying. Yeah.
Have there been any reports of, people coming through, or what's the protocol? I don't know if you can confirm whether or not you have had any employees with cases of COVID, but what is the protocol for that to happen?
Okay. First, we have had one or two. And the big thing about an airport that everybody probably doesn't realize is there's probably 50, 60 companies out here at any one day. So about a mile from here is my maintenance facility, and in my maintenance facility is basically an airport 911 center. So if any of these employees, whether it's Southwest behind us or a concessions employee or our employee goes out sick for COVID, we notify the communication center. They send out an email to tell everybody that they don't identify the person, but they say somebody has tested positive and it was in this area, and we're now implementing cleaning procedures in that area. So we inform everybody, all the tenants, that it has happened, and then we go from there. What's pretty amazing is that I would say probably 80-90% everybody that's testing positive is doing something away from the airport. When they contact trace it, they got it at a party or they got it over somewhere else. It's not the fact that they got it coming through this airport. And then like this nice looking family right here, 98% of everybody that's coming in here is doing the best thing possible, and that's wearing the mask. And so it's really taken hold here. You don't see many people that are not wearing a mask for some reason.
Can you talk a little bit about, to the best of your ability, how TSA is handling, we know that you're not supposed to have contact, you need to stay, 6 feet away. How have they managed the security measures on top of COVID-19?
Well, they're one of our many business partners out here. So TSA almost has as many employees as we do at the airport. We each probably have about 350 employees. They run 3 shifts, just like we run 3 shifts. But a lot of TSA's inspections are all with high-tech type equipment that are inspecting. But if you'll notice, in the past, they wear gloves. And then when the pandemic hit, they went to mask. Now they're with mask and face shields. So they've done a really good job of trying to protect their employees as well and still do what they have to do to inspect everybody. But we have a lot of scanners, computers, x-ray machines, explosive devices, dogs, all designed to detect stuff that shouldn't be at an airport.
So when can we expect a naming of the hotel?
Okay. The solicitation is still active, so I can't really comment on that. But hopefully we'll receive a couple of proposals next week. Then we'll evaluate those, take it to our board, and then later this year there'll be an announcement. And the reason why that timing is important is because we want whoever the winner is, they'll have about 9 months to finish the design. We've been doing this for about 2 years with both groups. So we'll know we'll finalize the design, then they'll have 2 years to build it. And in the summer of 23, when we open up the new stretched center part of the airport, the hotel will open at the same time.
Next for BNA Vision, what are the next projects?
The next project is the stretching of the building. It'll take us about 2 years to do that. Building of the third and final garage, and on top of that garage is the hotel. And when we finish that, that'll be in the summer to late 2023. We'll be a big enough airport that we can handle up to 36 million passengers. We'll have 48 gates at a minimum, and we're already working on what comes after that. And that's a runway extension, maybe a new concourse to get us up to 65 gates. And while we're doing all of this, on the other side of Donaldson, we have a $51 million rebuild of one of our 4 runways. So we're pretty busy out here, but happy about it.
What's the main thing that you want BNA passengers and fans of BNA to know during this time? What message would you like to get out to the public about the vision and about the expansion and about what you're doing to keep them safe?
Well, in terms of the vision, we're on schedule and on budget. And so our Board of Commissioners is pretty happy about that as well. In terms of our passengers, we're doing everything within our power to make sure this is the cleanest and most efficient airport possible. And so I have family members that have flown. I've flown. I feel very comfortable. I've been here every day since the pandemic started in early March following the tornadoes. And I think it's a very good airport to fly in and out of. And all of our business partners, whether it's concessions or parking or airlines, are doing everything within their power. So I feel very comfortable. If you're following those CDC guidelines and staying home when you don't feel well, if you're only going out when you're healthy, and you practice all the other protocols, you're going to be okay.
One more question that I was put up to, but it was not by Joe Woolley. Okay. Let me just clarify.
Right.
Are there any plans to add any additional direct international flights?
Well, we hope so. And the reason I say that is Nashville was on fire for the last 8 years, and British Airways was doing a really good job of nonstop to London. We had and basically 400 Nashvillians going to London and Europe every day, and that aircraft only held about 216. So we were probably really close to maybe getting a second European flight, but when the pandemic happened, all the Caribbean, all the Canadian, all the European flights stopped. So our first job is get it going again. And once we get it going again and Nashville starts playing the Titans and the Predators and the Ryman and the Gaylord, when all that engine gets going again, we'll get that second flight after that.
your
Is
time.
that
I
helpful?
really appreciate.
All
Yes.
right, good. Well, here we go. We got we can't do anything else.
Now, Mr. Kreulen says what's next for BNA is a renovation of this terminal that we're standing in right here in the middle. They say that they're doing everything that they can to make sure that everyone is safe, and they look forward to everyone coming back and flying again. This is Brian Sullivan reporting for Out and About Nashville.